let's get into the conversation and find out what Humberly had to say about tarot. Thanks so much for your time today, Humberly. Really appreciate it. So I finally had a chance to see Tarot not too long ago myself, which was a very, very fun movie. And of course, for everybody watching, it is Tarot, not Tarot. It does not rhyme with carrot.
Tarot.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
movie. One of the looking back over some of your screen history, it was really cool seeing that you worked in a pretty good variety of sandboxes, like voiceover for cartoons, video games. You played roles for television, films, and even a couple of television films too. One of the things I was curious to ask you is, what do you feel has been the biggest difference between, working for television and and on a feature film, and by extension, if I might, what benefits do you think that working in television and having that experience lends to your big feature or film work?
Yeah, I mean, getting to do like a big studio picture has always been a goal. It's exactly the area I want to be in. I mean, I think
Sure.
it just all levels up. So to your question, I think these are all the steps to get you there. I don't think you can just start out with doing a big feature. And at least for me as an artist, something that I spoke about with my team very early on was I really want to take the steps there. I don't want to start with just this big, massive responsibility and then not be confident enough to measure up. And I think it comes down to that is understanding myself as an artist and as a person, knowing the kind of responsibilities and the tools that I've acquired along the way to know that I can be on this set, not have imposter syndrome, and know that there's a lot of similarities in all the things that I've done to now use all that I've learned to be able to be on this big set. And it's incredible. It's amazing how, familiarity and comfortability really aids in the artistry to come out. So I think it has to do with that. I think, in the last, I guess, 7-8 years of my professional career, I've been able to do a bit of everything, which means that when I have a new genre or a new form of attacking the work, I can go, well, I've done all of this around it. So really, I just take bits and pieces from everything. And I learn on the job too. I'm not scared to fail, because at the end of the day, it's an opportunity to learn. But
Right.
I definitely welcome like more challenges and areas that I haven't explored yet, because I trust that my body will know what to do. And that I've acquired all of these. It's almost like, the skills that I need to be able to show up and show what I can do.
All right. No, that's fantastic. And I will assume that you've gotten over the imposter syndrome, because that didn't get conveyed at all in tarot. You absolutely crushed it, and you 1000% look like you belonged.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it was really cool too, when you mentioned about being able to do different genres. That's one of the things I was really curious about too, because I do see that you've worked on a few, certainly darker, some more horror leaning films in the past, but they still don't quite make up most of your work so far. So what for you, Humberly, about working on a horror film set did you find to be, the most enjoyable, or, maybe something that stands out most to you as compared to, say, working on set of the not so scary stuff?
Yeah, I think there's just a different type of energy, especially for tarot. I mean, I knew the material that I had to tackle, so I was making sure that my body was in a good state, waking up and working out, doing cardio, doing weights, making sure that I had the energy physically to have the long days on set. You get lots of night shoots, and a lot of the time you're in this state of heightened fear and emotionality. So you have to make sure that you are taking care of your mental health, like health in general. I think it's a big part of it. When you're trying to trick your brain into, hey, I'm not safe right now, and we're scared and we're running away for our lives, and we're distraught, our friends are dying. A lot of the time with horror film, you're dealing with that loss, grief, fear, death, pain. So you have to make sure that you know how to separate from those feelings once you're done, and how to prepare mentally to get into those spaces and be able to do it over and over and over and over again over really long days. So I think it's about stamina and knowing yourself enough to give yourself what you need so that you can last through the whole shoot. You know, I was there for 3 months, and I was in a different location in Serbia, away from home, away from anything that I ever knew.
Wow.
Culturally, like the food, the music, the people, everything, like the set was so different. We had a Serbian crew. So it was definitely so foreign that there's a lot of change. And as humans, you know, we're creatures of habit and comfort. So
Of
you're
course.
kind of like a fish out of water. And so you have to lean into what brings you comfort in strange places and new places. So you do get to know yourself a bit more, and like what you turn to, how you can assist your body and your mental health. So it was definitely a very big lesson in how I work, and how to allow myself to show up in a different way as an actor, and you know, like show up to be scared and potentially die. Like it's like, how do you experience that? Well, also knowing you're absolutely safe. I think it's a very
Sure.
interesting challenge as an actor to trick your brain into thinking you're not safe when you know that you are. I think doing fear with conviction is one of the most challenging things, because it's if you do it wrong, or if you don't do it convincingly enough, I think people can tell instantly. So you really have to be
Right.
so vulnerable and commit fully.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's so fascinating to hear you talk about all that too, about how so much of the preparation really is so not just creative, but of course so physical,
Mhm.
so mental, and the preparation there. I mean, people think it's easy to be scared running for your life for, in your case,
Hours.
3 months
You
in a
see
different
like
country.
1 minute of the thing, and like the reality is, it's like, for example, that long bridge scene, that was over 2 days, two night shoots
Yeah.
actually. We would
Wow.
see the sunrise every day, and we have to drive like an hour out of the main city where we're staying. And you know, it's dark. I'm running. I'm doing the most. So I'm like, I'm so glad that I prepped my body for this, because that's how
Right.
long it takes. It really is such a process. And it's an hour and a half movie, where in reality it was 3 months of work.
Yeah, yeah, you hope that a lot of the extended scenes and such, director, makes it onto the director's cut of the disc
Yeah.
when it finally
There's so
comes out.
much, and there's so many things that get edited out. There's things that change on the day. Like my experience of what making the film was is so different from what you see on screen.
Sure.
Even though it still shows up and it's an incredible story and an incredible result, it's never what the actors and the creative team experiences. So there's always so much that like we wish that audiences could see and know behind the scenes. But you know, it's the magic of creating, is that we kind of get to keep all these little secrets and nuggets of knowledge of the story, and you guys get to see only like bits of the magic.
The polished part of it.
Yeah, the polished part of it. Yeah.
Cool. And how much fun was that too for you? It's funny. I almost called you Madeline. How funny or how fun was it for you too, Humberly, when you're doing a lot of the reaction shots? I mean, those close-up shots of, like you said, just by being
Yeah.
absolutely terrified and being on, authentically terrified in the moment. I mean, how much fun was that? Because
Yeah.
I mean, were you? I'm sure those shots weren't exactly filmed while the really scary stuff was going on when you're being chased down by this, terrifying force. I don't want to give away too much, but how much fun was that for you to do with just those awesome reaction shots?
It's great because one of my favorite things in the work is the listening. And so much of that happens in between the moments that you're speaking. I often find that that's where the imagination really runs free and wild, and you get to really dig into the work. A lot of the time is visualization. There's really nothing there I'm running away from or actually scared of. A lot of the time it's just me making it up in my mind with my own imagination. It's very childlike. It's like kids play. You're really leaning into the imagination and the creative work of, you know, what if? It's all what ifs. And the
Right.
more you exercise that muscle, like we all have the capacity to do that. It's how we dream. It's how we make our dreams come true. So I'm essentially
Right.
dreaming while living my dream. It's like you are leaning into the magic and creating this fantasy world and creating fear.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, it's kind of interesting that, you know, fear oftentimes it's in our minds. So we are
Oh, yeah.
capable of that. We just have to allow ourselves to really believe it. But it's
Absolutely.
really
Yeah.
fun, honestly, for me. I love doing a scene where like all I have to do is listen, and you get to almost get to know that character and that person through how they react, because it is simply their point of view, is their perspective of the reality of what's happening. And it says so much. It guides the audience to feel or allowed to feel a certain way. So it's interesting when you're just, you know, getting to know the story and someone through their reaction. I really enjoyed, and I thought that there were like some really cool moments that they caught that, you know, I'm just in it, so I don't know what they're I don't know what they're gonna decide to cut to.
Right.
And so it was really cool to see like, oh wow, they cut to that. And I'm literally like freaking out of my eyes. Like telling a story, or we're, you know, there's a lot of exposure into like why we got there and why this is happening to all of us in the friend group. It's very interesting to see that, you know, when they cut to an actor, it means that it's so alive in their eyes and in their self that it was interesting enough to put it on film. So I'm very proud.
Yeah, and it gets conveyed so well. I mean, it really is, especially when it comes to something as cerebral as terror. I mean, it's almost like, you know, telepathy at its best in a way.
Mm,
You know, to make the audience feel the way that you are.
totally.
When you first read over the script as well, Humberly, speaking of Madeline, what is it about the character Madeline that you thought was most intriguing and challenging, and you thought, I got this?
Yeah, I mean, even just her reading in the tarot of like running away from your problems, I'm like, oh yeah, I can connect to that. And
I think we all can.
I just really enjoy, you know, her reading her card, like I guess the stunt that I got to do, it was one of like the coolest things ever. And I honestly felt like Tom Cruise. Like it was like
That's
for 2 days and it's all
wow.
you, and like this is the moment. I love how it was showcased in the trailer too. Like it was a big moment, and it's something
Oh
that
yeah.
was really alluring to me. I love the character in the sense that, you know, you never know where she was going to stand with the group, but she's very strong, you know, and she always has her phone. It's like this safety net of recording everything that's happening, because she trusts that. It's like, well, I might black out and not remember things, but like these are the photos and the memories and like the journey of it all. And it's kind of interesting, like the
Yeah.
juxtaposition of that versus we're watching a movie, the recording of life. And yeah, I just found her really interesting. I enjoyed how she I guess connected to like her friends and how it all kind of like developed. So I'm glad I got to play her. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. And did you have, so that's really fascinating. So there was no stunt double when you're, again, I'm not going to spoil it, but when you came face to face with your ultimate fears, with Madeline's ultimate fears in there. So that was all you then.
Yeah, and I did have a
Wow.
stunt double, that and she did mostly like one specific part that I cannot ruin, but most of the stuff, it
Sure.
was all me. Like I had to do all of the running. There was like riggings, wires, a
Yeah.
platform, like all of that stuff was definitely me. All the like face reaction shots. And you know, when I'm actually like come face to face with that fear, I'm not actually looking at that. I'm literally
Yeah.
staring right into camera. So it's so interesting that, you know, you'll turn and look at the, you know, the card manifested, but me as an actor, as Umberly, I never actually got to see them on that scene that day. It was actually separate shots.
Oh,
So when you put it all together, it was actually really amazing for me to see it all together as well, because I knew what I was supposed to be looking at, but I'm not actually looking at it in real life. So
sure.
people forget that, right? There's a lot of things that
Right.
are actually very like disjointed when we're on screen and doing this in real life, and it's out of chronological order. It's all happening like in such a different way. So it's even new for the actors and the creative team to watch it all together, how it's supposed to be done.
Yeah, it's gotta be so fascinating as
Yeah.
well. It's
Yeah.
fascinating as a movie geek too, to go behind the scenes and see how it was made and then watch it again and then be that much more impressed. When all of you were reading the script as well with your group of friends and the actors, were you aware of, again, not to spoil, but for those who have on-screen deaths, were you aware of who was gonna get it and how beforehand?
No, and I mean, we had our first read through when we all got to Serbia all together. You know, even in the audition process, like we only got the scenes and that was kind of about it, which happens a lot. Like a lot of the time it's all very under wraps until everybody's cast and we're on location and we're about to shoot like, you know, a week out or something and we have the first read through. It was so much fun to see how everybody or who was going to go and how. And, you know, the script changes so much as we start and as we're filming and stuff. So we got to see it kind of transform in front of us as well.
That's
But
exciting.
they did such a great job. I mean, I think it's such a fun movie. It's like scary, but also comedic. And it's got so many different beats. And even watching it, like the music, the editing, the visual effects, I was just like, wow, it is so different from, I remember that first read through we had and then seeing the final result. But it was still very fun, you know, like before we even get to shooting, getting to imagine what it could be like, always a great moment.
That is amazing. The one thing I want to ask as well is, I'm not sure how your knowledge of tarot reading and astrology might have changed before the film and after the film, but was there anything else that you might have learned or otherwise taken away from your experience with tarot that you're most grateful or maybe even surprised by?
Yeah, I mean, tarot had just like recently kind of come into my life and I didn't know a lot about it. But now being a part of it, it feels like it's popping up in my life even more so. And I'm just curious because people really sometimes like there's people who just make it their entire life and
Oh yeah.
they pull cards every single day. It is quite literally like an aid to exist. And it's kind of cool. I mean, I got gifted a tarot book that I haven't, you know, gone into yet, but just to
I
be
can
able to
appreciate
see what
why.
it's all about because it's like, how did this come to be? I mean,
Yeah.
fate and horoscopes and you know, I really definitely believe that there are forces and energies out there that are, you know, either there to guide us or protect us or, you know, challenge us.
Mhm.
I was definitely more inspired and believe it or not, not scared. I feel like it allowed me to lean in more. Um, I know that there's been, you know, people who are like, oh, like you're shaming tarot, or maybe it's like leaving like a bad taste in people's mouth or something. But I actually think, you know, a movie can enhance someone's like knowledge of things. I didn't get scared. I didn't think that it was like, oh, haunted deck and it's gonna, you know, like come and attack you and like it's
Sure.
your demise. I actually feel like it really inspired all of us to get excited about it, to learn a bit more about it, and I hope that that's what it does for people, that they can just suspend their disbelief, suspend their belief that it's a movie and it's for entertainment and creatively. Like it was so cool to see these cards come to life
Yeah.
how they were created and there was all practical makeup and costumes and contortionists and real people behind that. It wasn't made in CGI. I love
Wow.
that. I love that it can be a moment of entertainment, but there's a deeper meaning in that, which is tarot is out there. And for people who never knew about it, maybe they could be like, "Ooh, this is a fun thing to try, and maybe I'll give it a try and get my fortune read." Yeah,
Exactly. No, it's so exciting. Yeah, and that I know that certainly the jester scene was extremely creepy, and that's amazing to realize that that was an actual
a real
contortionist. That
person
was
twisting that way, you
oh,
know? Incredible. I'm like, yeah, it was scary. Like that was definitely it left an impression on a lot of people.
it's like people shouldn't be able to do that.
I know, but we can. Isn't that amazing?
Oh, it's just
Our spine
incredible.
just whirls into a snail. Cool.
Oh, I'm getting
Yeah.
flashbacks now from that scene. That's awesome. And what do you hope, Humberly, that folks who go check this film out, what do you hope that they most get from their experience?
I mean, honestly, I miss the times where people go to the movies in a group and they get to be like scared and laugh together.
Yeah.
I went on Friday with like 40 of my friends, and it was such a unique experience to not just be there for support, but what it means to go to the movies, which is it really is an enjoyable experience of watching art with your friends. And I feel like sometimes we step away from that and we become critical and we nitpick at things and we forget that it's also to enjoy ourselves. It's like a
Right.
moment of fun to like forget about the world, go into a dark room with your friends and just enjoy it together. And I feel like this movie does that. There's an opportunity to like bond over being scared. And it is so entertaining. Honestly, I remember watching it for the first time, and I watched it with Jacob and Avantika from the cast.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was honestly so much fun. And we just kept like looking at each other and being like, oh, like we're in the movie. Like we just made a movie. And it's incredible. But I love horror movies. I brought a lot of friends who do not watch horror movies who actually had a fun time. So if you're one of those people who is like, I'm too scared, I cannot do it. Maybe this will change your mind. I mean, it's like, it's a fun experience. It's exhilarating. It makes you feel alive. It's one of those human experiences, right? That sometimes people are like, oh, I can't watch scary movies. It's too scary. But I'm like, there's something about it. There's an energy about this that I often crave. But to be fair, I'm biased because I'm a huge horror fanatic. So
absolutely. Me too. I'm wearing my Werewolf in London, American Werewolf in London shirt here too. So I'm all about the comedy horror stuff. So on behalf of all people that don't even realize that they're a horror fan yet, thank you for doing your part to convert them.
Yeah, there you go. I'm
Much
like,
appreciated.
I think it's easier when you go with friends because they can like hold your hand and look at you, or like, but
put on the brave face. I'm not afraid. You're afraid.
Going to the movies and going to watch horror movies together and people getting scared together. Like it really is such a fun experience.
It is. It's the best, and I think you nailed it with the the mention of a bonding experience. It really is. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I guess to wrap things up, Humberly, and again, thank you so much for doing this. Really, really appreciate it. Do you have any final words of wisdom, or perhaps a word of warning for those folks that may look forward to playing tarot at their next party?
Ooh, I mean, I would say there is something to say about the fact that tarot has such a big history, and there's people who do it for their whole lifetime and they swear by it. I got my tarot cards read a lot recently because of the movie, and it was all very accurate. I mean, take everything with a grain of salt, but I really do feel like there's something out there that is either watching over us or guiding us. And so I'd say give it a shot. I think it's really cool to turn to people who know something about it. And if anything, it's just incredibly creative, even the cards themselves, like exploring, just looking at them and what it brings up for people. It's such a creative field. I think it's really beautiful. So yeah, give it a shot.
And of course, make sure that it's not somebody else's deck that you're playing with. Otherwise,
that too.
They might find themselves in the sequel.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again, Humberly. Can't thank you enough for this. This has been awesome.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Rick.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye.
Hey, thanks so much for watching that, guys. I really hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, please feel free to hit that like button so that this conversation can go out to as many horror fans as possible. Please hit subscribe so that way you don't have to miss another great conversation in the future. And if you like this conversation, maybe you like this next conversation that I picked out just for you guys right up here somewhere. My conversation with Robert Morgan about his part in putting together his film Stop Motion. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.